There is a flame of creativity that flickers within us all, a burning compulsion to grow, make, build, program, write, dance, or sing. It may be the smallest spark or a roaring fire, but nonetheless, this flame of creativity warms the soul. This warmth nurtures us, bringing peace and healing. Horace Havemeyer III was a man whose creative flame burned strong and steady. He was constantly compelled to create, and though he was always entwined with the arts, he was not a full-time artist. I had the pleasure of getting to interview Mrs. Eugenie C. Havemeyer, Horace's widow, and when describing Horace and his drive to create, she said, "He was brilliant. He had a very fertile mind, and he was always thinking about things, thinking about them visually, and so he would just sketch." She recounted to me how, even since childhood, Horace kept a notebook close at hand, sketching and doodling, even in the margins, as his spark of inspiration flickered. Looking through his notebooks, we get to see a story of Horace's life and the sparks that compelled him to create, one of which was a lifelong love of the water, a connection that constantly burned bright. We also see a story of rare illness, of perseverance, loss, and finding solace and warmth in art and the act of creation. In the late 1990s, when Horace was 58, he was diagnosed with chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy, an autoimmune disorder that caused peripheral neuropathy, which ultimately led to total paralysis before his passing in 2014. After Horace lost the use of his hands, he continued to create by working with an art therapist, describing the visuals of a scene as she worked to replicate them in collage. The bold life he lived was dedicated to creation, and it's clear he was compelled to create by the wonder of the world around him. He grew up in generations of a sailing family, from racing when he and his cousins were kids to watching races, including the America's Cup. From childhood, he loved sailing and being on the water, a love that continued into his adulthood and one that is reflected countless times in the pages of sketchbook after sketchbook. Throughout the couple's life together, their homes were situated on rivers. Horace found solace in looking at the water and would position his desk so that he could look out the window at the river, many times painting the same scene over and over again. Throughout the years, using different styles from realism to abstraction, painting them as they changed from sunny days to night scenes and storms. This repetition allows us to see the progression of his CIDP over time, lines becoming softer, looser, brushstrokes of watercolor getting larger and more abstracted. Not only do we see the progression of disease, but we see perseverance. In fact, in looking at his works chronologically, Horace's compositions become more complex and his technical skill improved despite a regression in dexterity. In the summers, he hosted an outdoor group of amateurs and professionals to paint the Connecticut River. He shared in a community of art even as the act of creating became more challenging, but he didn't stop painting. One of the things I love most about this body of work is that it may never have been intended for anyone other than friends or family to see or display. It was simply something Horace did because he loved it, because it sparked joy and fanned that flame in him, because even as his physical abilities regressed, he knew and felt the power that art has. And art therapy empowered him and continued to give him the ability to heal his soul through creation for the remainder of his life. So whether you choose to share it with the world or not, I urge you to seek creation, to find that spark and fan it, to paint what you love, dance wildly and sing loudly, to explore for yourself the incredible, therapeutic powers art. Would you tell me a little bit about what art and art therapy meant to Horace?
Everything. It meant everything. It was so much a part of his life, his being, and our being together.